Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here, and in today's video I'm going to be walking you through everything that I do to get ready for my work day. And I spend my days on Zoom calls. I am constantly on video and in front of people and having to present, and it's important that I get myself ready every single day to be presentable and be ready and present. And one of the things that really helps me is putting on my makeup. That's just something that brings me peace. It makes me feel like me. It makes me feel like my best self. And it's really important that I'm able to show up as my best self every single day in my work. And it's just fun. It's a great way to start the day with a little self-care, and a little bit of makeup therapy is kind of how it feels sometimes. So anyway, if that's something that you're interested in, keep watching. I'm going to walk you through the entire process, and let's get started. So I'm just going to be walking you through what I typically do to get ready for work. Most of my work, actually all of it now, is over Zoom and is virtual. So it's really just me sitting actually at this desk. My vanity doubles as my working desk during the day. So I'm just going to walk you through what I typically do in a day to get Zoom ready, the things that I do to just feel like me and feel beautiful and feel ready to take on the day. So the first thing I'm going to do, as you know, I'm going to spray a little setting spray on my face. This is something that I do to act as a barrier between my skin and the makeup, really to control oil. Next, I'm going to prime my skin, which includes my eyelids, and I use the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion, just the original. That's what I like, and I'm going to smooth and tap that into the eyelid. Next, I'm going to take my e.l.f. putty primer. This is the mattifying one, and again, take my Blendiful into the product. Looks like I picked up a lot, but I really didn't. I'm just going to tap that into the skin where I have super large pores. This just really helps the makeup to lay super nicely. And on longer days, or just days when I know I'm going to need a little oil control, I use this Clean and Clear No Glow Anti-Shine Stick. Looks a little bit like a glue stick, doesn't feel like a glue stick. It's super smooth, a little powdery when you tap it into the skin. I just go in where I'm typically very shiny, and you'll see that that really helps to control the shine and doesn't interrupt the makeup. Next, I'm gonna go into my L'Oreal BB cream. This is the Magic Skin Beautifier in shade Light. Got my hair stuck. Okay, with that base on, now I'm going to go in and contour as well as conceal to add a little bit more shade and light and just coverage to this look. I don't go for a lot of coverage, especially now that I work from home and I'm just on Zoom calls all day. Coverage is not nearly as important to me now as shade and light is super important to me, because that's really what shows up more than anything when you're on a Zoom call. It's kind of the shadows and the highlights of your face. That is really what people are seeing more than anything. So you really want to make sure that where you are highlighting and where you are shading makes sense, and that it's accomplishing what you want it to do. For me, I have a round face. I don't have super defined features, so I use contour and highlight or concealer to really add shape to my face, so that when I'm on a Zoom call, which is basically like being on video just like this all day long in front of people, really making sure that I'm using those tools to give my face the shape that I want it to when I'm on these calls. I am using the Makeup Revolution concealer today. It's about $7. It does the job, and I honestly can't bring myself to spend more than that on a concealer, to be honest, when I know that there are such inexpensive options out there. You really don't need to, unless it just, I don't know, unless that's what you're about and that makes you happy, in which case I'm not judging you. This is a judgment-free zone. Using a very minimal amount of concealer. Just want to highlight under the eye a little bit. I do have some purpleness under my eyes because of how pale I am. Everything shows up under my skin, really. Any redness, any purpleness. And so I want to hide that, but also just add that highlight under the eye. I have small eyes, and so adding that highlight underneath really helps to pop them open. So I'm gonna tap that in, as you can see, and then I'm gonna take my Maybelline Fit Me powder in shade 5. So this is the really light one. I just take a little bit of the powder with this angled brush. I'm gonna take a very minimal amount and I'm going to stipple. This is not a full bake. This is really just setting of the under eye. Next, I do like to go in with my Coty Airspun, and I like to just take a little bit of this with my Blendiful. I'll go directly into the powder and just pick up some. I'll tap off a lot. I don't want a ton of powder, and I'll press it here just for a little additional coverage. I have some acne on my chin right now. I'm not really sure what's going on. I think it's hormonal, and I also have some acne up here. These are my breakout spots, honestly. And then taking a little bit more powder. I'll usually just powder my nose as well. I like the additional coverage. I have a very red nose. All right, so I've highlighted my face, and when I say highlight, I don't mean highlighter. I mean I've added light to the places that I want a little bit more light. Now I'm gonna add darkness. So this is all about shaping the face, and that's something that I think gets really lost a lot of times, and something that I'm still not perfect at, that I'm really learning, but how to use shade and light and contour and highlight to really shape my face so that it brings out the features that I want to bring out, and then it hides some of the features that I would rather went unseen. It's going to be different for everybody, so what I do may not work for you, but I'll just try to call out the things that I'm thinking about as I'm doing this, and this might look different day to day based on what my skin is doing or what I'm dealing with in terms of my weight. For instance, I have lost a lot of weight this year. I have a lot more to lose, but that will definitely change my face shape, and so I'll need to change my highlighting and contouring as the shape of my face changes with weight gain or weight loss. And that's something that I really don't hear really anybody talking about that much, but I think it's really important that as your face changes shape, even if you're having a more bloated day, you might just want to approach your contouring and your highlighting very different to try and compensate for whatever is going on with your body and with your skin. So for today, I'm going to be contouring with this Wet n Wild contour stick, and my face is looking slightly thinner today, but I still have a very kind of round oval face that I really want to lengthen and bring in and bring forward some sharper features. Like if I do this, my cheekbones are like down here, you know? I don't have high cheekbones. I have high apples, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm describing that wrong. If I were to just follow my cheekbone, it really, I mean, it brings it down. I want to look straight forward instead of turning. I don't want to bring it too far down, but I definitely want it to look more cut, and I want it to look natural enough to where when I move my face and when I talk, those sockets are there, and so it'll really look like there needs to be shade there. So it makes sense where the contour is. I'm not going to start drawing it up here or way down here. It needs to make sense when you're talking, and I almost think that that's a better way to test out where your contour needs to be, but maybe that's just me. As you can tell, I have a 5-finger forehead, so I really need to bring that forehead down and add some shade there. Just a little bit of the jaw. I do have a little bit of a double chin right now, so I don't want to bring it too far forward because otherwise it's going to be really obvious with the color change here. So I feel like just bringing it in a little bit helps to blend that and look a little bit more natural versus looking like a shade matching problem. I'm going to use my Clarisonic to blend that in. Okay, so we are all blended in, but now I need to do my nose. I prefer to use powder products for my nose contour. I use this Makeup Revolution palette, and I'll usually just use one of the lighter shades, one of these two. They're generally pretty light and they make sense with my skin, but the lighter the better. I take my e.l.f. contour brush, and this is the only thing I use this brush for. That's it. That's the extent of my nose contour. I just cap it on the end. I might take it here and just kind of blend that into the side of the nose a little bit using a flicking motion. motion almost rather than a drag. And it really just helps blend it in. I don't want to overcomplicate it, and being so pale, I have to be so careful with my contour. One of the things that I really like is here you can see clearly my freckles showing through, and the transition is a little bit more natural. Down here, we've got some work to do to clean that up, but I'll show you how I do that in just a second. Next, I'm going to bronze. This is my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in shade Sun-Kissed Bronzer. I am a huge fan of this bronzer. I love the smell. I think it's so creamy and amazing. So easy to work with. Doesn't look patchy. I'll bronze a little under my chin, but again, I don't want it to look like I can't shade match or have some weird shading under here. As I mentioned earlier, I want to use shade and light to lengthen and to add structure and bring certain things forward in my face. One of the things that I want to do is make sure that my cheekbones look a little more cut. So right now, if I turn to the side, you'll see it's pretty wide. This is part of using the Clarisonic. This has gone a little bit lower than I intended, so I'm going to clean that up. One of the ways that I do this is I use my Coty Airspun powder again, and I'm going to take my beauty blender and dip the edge. Having that straight edge is so key. I can't use a sponge that doesn't have a straight edge anymore. I'm going to start at the top of this part of my ear. I don't really know what that's called, but not too much, because this isn't really a full bake. This is kind of just using light to add shape to the face. This will mean the contour and the bronzer really go to work in sinking in those cheeks and giving me cheekbones where there really are none. Am I right? Am I right or am I right? So you can see how light this is, and I'll show you, we blend this out and you can't even tell. It will look so blended and beautiful and natural. Next, I'm going to add blush, and so on days when I'm trying to move a little bit faster, I'm just getting ready for work, I'm gonna be home all day. The only people that are gonna see me are Jeremy and Zoom participants. I'm not going to always reach for products that I know are going to take a lot longer. So a really easy kind of quick blush to use is this Milani Luminoso blush. This is the perfect summer shade. I mean, check that out. This is my shade. This is the color of my soul. This is the color of my spirit. I love anything in this very peachy, kind of rose goldy shade. I think it's just so beautiful when it goes on. It makes me look sun-kissed. Anything that's in this color I've been buying. I'm gonna take my blush brush, just pick up some product there, and I'm gonna use blush to lift up my cheeks. And by putting it a little bit higher and bringing it back, it's really going to call out the shadows that I'm trying to build with contour and my bronzer. I want it all to blend together seamlessly. Kind of just want it to melt. So you'll see it's all starting to melt together here, and that's the dream. Additionally, I'm not going to smile while I put this on. I want it to look normal when I'm not smiling, and as much as I would like to be smiling constantly all the time and just be so full of joy all the time that I always have a smile on, I don't. So it's really important that I look normal and that my blush isn't dependent on me smiling. So you'll see when I smile, yes, it's on the apples of my cheeks, but when I am relaxed and natural, it's not a huge drop. So it doesn't drop my face down so much as it just adds that flush where I need it. And that's where bringing it back this way, you know, it's kind of an 80s technique. Bringing it back this way will help really lift, give a youthful glow. Next, I'm going to take my Blendiful again, buff that powder. You see that? Go look this way. That shadow for the cheekbone. You can see my blush is lifting. It's all kind of melted together. You can see the jaw definition here, but it's hopefully not looking too crazy. So all I'm doing is buffing that tiny little bit of powder, softening those lines, helping me define them, helping them be clean. And now it's all starting to look a little bit more youthful, glowy, normal, but you can tell there's definitely shade and light in places that look and feel natural and make me look awake, which for work is super, super important. You want to look awake. All right, next I'm gonna do my eyebrows. So we're about to turn our attention to the eyes, but before I can do my eye makeup, I need to do my eyebrows. I use the ColourPop Brow Boss in shade Warm Blonde for my eyebrows. I'm gonna go do those off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, so the brows are on and they're looking okay today. I have to draw in the entire brow from scratch because, as you could tell, I have translucent blonde eyebrows, so everything that you see, everything the light touches is manufactured and is from this pencil. But good news, these are only $5 and I go through them like hotcakes because of how much I have to fill them in. It's really hard actually to find a shade that matches blonde hair, especially natural blonde hair, because most blondes are from a bottle. I have never dyed my hair. This is exactly how it looks, and it's not even a true blonde, it's more of a strawberry blonde. And so the struggle of my life is finding a pencil that isn't too dark and doesn't look clownish on me. Luckily, eyebrows have come a really long way in the last couple of years, and I finally found a couple that work. This is just something that I spent a really long time trying to figure out, getting the right pencil with the right formula at the right price that was the right shade. I've been filling in my brows for 10 years and have finally figured it out over the last probably 6 to 8 months or so. I'm really liking it. It's definitely a bold brow look, but it adds structure to the face, and more importantly, as someone with hooded eyes, it's really important that I'm constantly lifting and creating as much space as I can in that kind of eye socket area, because I mean, truthfully, my eyes are super small and I don't have a lot of space to work with. The structure of my eyebrows is so important to creating eye looks that do what I need them to do on my face, and to just overall have the space I want to have fun with my eye looks when I'm in the mood. So for today's eye look, I'm going into the Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 collaboration palette with Morphe. I really like this palette for summer. It's so bright and fun. And today I'm going to be focusing on this more peachy color. This is probably my favorite color in the whole palette. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take a fluffy brush into shade Certified, which is just that white shade. And I'm going to do my usual and lay down a base, which makes it easier to blend shadow down the line. My skin is so light that you really can't tell that I just put white shadow all over my eye sockets. Next, I'm going to take that same brush into shade Perfectionist. It's the lighter of the browns. Now, the browns in this palette have quite a pinky undertone, so just be careful. They look a little bit more neutral in the palette than when they go on, at least with my skin. And I'm just going into that crease, windshield wipers, and then buffing out. There's no reason that you can't have fun with your work makeup, especially in quarantine. We're all working from home, or a lot of us are, so your makeup can be a little bit more experimentational. We're all on video calls, so if you make a mistake or if something's a little too bright, I find that it doesn't look as much of a big statement when you're virtual as it does when you're in person. So I encourage you to go and have fun. Use new colors, experiment. That's what this is all about, right? No, it's definitely not what quarantine is all about, but that's how I am getting joy out of this experience. One interesting problem I deal with is that my right eye is more hooded than my left eye, and so I have to make certain adjustments to my eye makeup so that they look even when I'm applying my eyeshadow. And it's really important to use that look straight ahead technique when you are doing your eye makeup, because something that looks good straight ahead, something that looks good when you're looking down in your mirror and you're blending out shadow, or when you're tilting or raising your eyebrows or whatever, is going to look very different when you're looking straight ahead. And we spend the majority of our lives looking straight ahead. Especially for my hooded eye girls, this is the most important thing that you can do to make sure that your eye makeup doesn't look insane or uneven or patchy, and to make sure that you're making the statement you want to make when your face is relaxed. So now what I want to do is I want to go into that shade right there. This is Positivity, and I'm going to take a smaller round blending brush and go straight into that shade, and I'm going to tip my head back. I want the concentration of the color towards the outside of the eye. I want this side to be more bright and this side to be more shaded so that it pulls my eye out and up. I'm gonna bring this down. I'm trying to create an angle here. It's gonna go back and forth, whirl it around so that it blends. So when I'm here, it looks totally different than when I'm here, right? So I want to make sure that you can see a little bit of that pink, but not too much. I don't want it to overtake our transition shade. And you'll often see me flicking like this. That's to pull the color out and up, just to get a hint, just the taste of the color going out. I'm not going out of my way to really put a lot into it. I want it to be so gentle that you don't even know it's there. Really fool the eye. So looking straight ahead, you can use that shade Perfectionist again to really make sure that the edges are blended out and that they're lifted. When I close my eyes, I mean, I'm really taking it up there because I don't have a lot of space to work with, but this is a trick that I can use to make my eyes look bigger and brighter and more awake and lifted. Okay, so next I'm going to take my more flat, fluffy brush, and I'm actually going to take it into this shade right here. This is shade I'm In It, and it looks white. It's an iridescent kind of duochrome shade. Ends up actually looking almost pink on the eyelid. So I just took a bunch on the brush. I'm going to close my eye and apply that to the eyelid. So you see there when I apply it how pink it is in real life. Okay, so next I'm going to do the under eye, and I'm going to go in with my Morphe 432 flat brush. I'm picking up more positivity on the brush, and I'm going in on that lash line and lining. Taking that smaller round blending brush again into Perfectionist. Making sure that everything looks married together. If you see yourself starting to make this kind of mistake where the shadow is going where you don't want to, this is where that straight edge beauty blender can come really into handy. I'm not even adding product, just gonna line it up there and clean it up. You see what a difference that made? Gonna help everything look more lifted. One thing that I'm enjoying lately is since I'm on video calls, I feel like I have a little bit more artistic license to do things that are just for me, and one of those is adding glitter to my looks. So this is shade Disco Queen from the e.l.f. Liquid Glitter Collections. It's got hollow particles in it and it's got a silvery base, so I'm just going to tap on just a little bit onto each eyelid and use my finger to blend out that glitter. And it's going to add additional light, and on camera it may or may not even pick up. When you're on a Zoom call it might look a little brighter, but the glitter isn't so chunky and big that it's going to look like you're headed to a disco, you know what I mean? And you know what, even if the glitter is just for me and I'm the only one who sees it, or I'm the only one that cares, I think that makes it worth it. Okay, so I just stepped away briefly to line my eyes. I used this Tattoo Studio Maybelline white eyeliner on the lower waterline, a little bit more pop and a little bit more open. Getting those eyes open is really, really key, again, to counteract the effects of having hooded eyes, which kind of makes your eyes look a little bit more droopy and less wide and less awake. That white on the waterline really, really helps with that. And then I just very closely tight lined my upper lid with this brown pencil. This is from Revlon Cover Stay, and this is shade 203 brown. You don't want to do too much liner all over as a hooded eye girl. That's gonna really bring down your eyes, but I do like the look when it marries with the mascara of it just looking cleaner and nicer. The last thing I'm gonna do before mascara is I'm gonna take this Physicians Formula Butter Highlighting Set. I got it at the holidays, and look at how beautiful those shades are. Oh my god. I am going to take a tiny pencil brush into this white shade. It's called Pearl, and I'm gonna highlight my inner corner. My eyes are done except for mascara, which I do at the very end after everything else. I'm gonna take this brush that I used to apply the powder here, and I'm just going to flick away any powder that still might be remaining, but really there isn't any because I didn't really bake. There isn't excess powder. So this is more of an insurance policy, as well as if there's any eyeshadow that fell, I'm just gonna flick it away. Next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna highlight, and my favorite kind of more subtle highlight these days is this one. This is from Ulta. This is the Avengers collab. I don't even know if they sell this anymore, so I apologize if they don't. But if this is any indication on what the other Ulta highlights are about, I definitely recommend them. These colors are so pretty, especially this is my favorite highlighter of all time. It's this like pinky duochrome highlighter. It goes beautifully with my skin. It just looks so natural and glowy. I love this palette so much. I think the branding is super cute. I'm gonna take my highlighting brush. I'm gonna go into Become a Legend, this goldy shade here. Very glow from within. And then I'm gonna take Prepare to Be Amazed. This is my favorite shade. See that? Look at that. Look at that shift and that glow. Do you know of any other highlights out there that are like this? Just so work appropriate and so much more natural. I am definitely extra and someone that is willing to kind of pow with the highlight and not really care. But the way that it all melts together makes me so happy. The time has come to set the face. And put on some mascara. So mascara is on, and I feel like that really marries the entire makeup look together, just looks more finished. But the last thing we have to do is put on lips, and I am trying to walk that line of looking a little bit more natural, a little more glowy, youthful, appropriate for sitting at home on Zoom calls all day, while at the same time having fun and trying new things. So the products that I'm going to be using today are the Jaclyn Hill lipstick. This is shade Isla, and I'm going to top it with this Maybelline Lifter Gloss. This is shade Moon. This is my favorite shade in the collection, and I think they're gonna go really well together. Also goes well with this look, I think. And I figured I'd use my Jaclyn Hill lipstick today since we're using Jaclyn Hill eyeshadow, and it just goes together. So it's a little cooler toned than I was going for, but I think with the lip gloss, we're gonna be in shape. Well, if those two products don't get together and have babies, then there's no hope for the rest of us. Wow, what a pair. Those really go together well. It's a little more cooler tone than it probably should be, but I think it's still just a really pretty, natural, glowy, juicy, youthful look, which is really what I've been going for. Okay, everyone, so that is the finished look. I'm feeling really pretty. I'm feeling ready for the day. I feel like this was the right mix of having fun, but also just moving quickly through a makeup look so you're ready for the day. It's important that I look presentable and put together, but also that I'm making time in my day for a little creativity, a little me time, some self-care. It really shapes how I show up for my work, for the people on my team, and the people that I interact with every day. My mindset is so different when I take a few minutes to put myself together and put in a little effort. And I know even just adding a little glitter, it makes me feel a little bit more special, more energized. I catch myself in the mirror and I get really excited. And that's just something that makes me feel really good. That's my self-care, and that's my grounding time. Sitting with my iPad, watching YouTube, putting on my makeup. I love the rituals so much. And so if I can pass on a little bit of that joy to you, then that's all I'm here to do. That's really what I want to encourage through these videos, is just passing on my joy and my love of makeup to each of you, and encouraging you in whatever way possible to take time for your self-care and to have fun, and to use this quarantine time as a time of experimentation. Use this as your opportunity to try something new. Make time to do something special, and make time to do something that's just for you. Because really, it probably is just for you these days. It's really easy to let those things fall by the wayside and to not prioritize putting on makeup, doing your hair, or putting on your favorite outfit. Identify what those items are for you and make time for them. I promise you it will make a difference difference in how you show up in your life. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It would mean so much to me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!